Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are not quite back in our studio inside Renaissance Bank in Alpharetta, but we're looking forward to that day, hopefully someday soon. In the meantime, if they're in the middle of PPP loan forgiveness, and if that brings up a sore subject for you because, like, your bank messed it all up or didn't respond to your needs on that, or maybe you're just tired of the big impersonal bank, but you want a bank big enough to handle all your needs. Well, Renaissance is right in that nice little niche there where they're big enough to handle pretty much anything you can throw at them as a small business, but small enough to do it personally and work with you personally. So go to renaissancebank.com, find their local office, some 200 across the South, open and ready to serve you, and give them a call. And the personal service will start with a live person answering the phone. Imagine that. And make an appointment and go in and see them. You'll be glad you did. And I've worked with them personally, and I can vouch for them from my experience. I think you'll appreciate that, what they do. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Matt Minicozzi, old friend. Advantage Technologies is the name of his firm. Matt, welcome.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. It's been a while. Too long.
Yeah, I know. It's good to see your face, even though it's virtually.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we're stuck with is virtually right now, right? So, right. Yeah. Talk a little bit about you and Advantage Technologies. How are you serving folks out there?
Yeah, so Advantage Technologies, we're a managed service provider, and basically we help small and mid-sized businesses outsource their IT needs. We take care of their security, their support. One thing that they love is vendor management. They no longer have to call Comcast when the internet goes out or they're having problems with that and waiting on hold. So we take care of that. And basically the idea is, in this cybersecurity world and everything we're seeing is imagine it as a pack of gazelles, right? So you have a pack of gazelles, right? And you have the lion that wakes up every morning to eat those gazelles. So the lion is the hacker or these threat groups, and the gazelles are us in the small and mid-sized business. And the key is you just don't want to be the slowest gazelle. The slowest gazelle is always going to get eaten and taken for ransom. So our goal is to get you into that front of the pack while understanding your cash flow and not spending way too much money, which you could and could be sold that, and just getting into that front of the pack. So you're more secure, you understand what's going on, and just building that relationship together.
That's an image I don't think I'll ever forget right there. Yeah, that was, and what you're talking about though is it's just like securing your home or your car or what have you, so that the bad guys will go to the next home or car, what have you, right?
They just go to the next easiest target.
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've got to, of course, ask the question about the pandemic and how things have changed in a pandemic. Talk about the world of cybersecurity. I can't imagine the threats have gone down. They must have gone up.
They went up tremendously.
Okay.
And what's happening now is these threat groups, they call them threat groups or threat actors. They're actually, they're in the healthcare world, for dentistry and plastic surgeons, vets and stuff like that. They're easy targets because they're just not paying attention. They're just putting their head in the sand instead of saying, okay, I need to get educated on this, and finding the right person to educate them. Instead of just a regular salesperson, we've all come across that regular salesperson that's just trying to meet a quota. No, it's time, I call all IT professionals to do this. It's time to serve and educate and really help our communities understand what is going on. Because the risk has, it's insane. So 4 weeks ago, what they're doing is they're now attacking managed service providers, right? So in Memphis, 4 weeks ago, there was 42 offices that got ransomware, and it was through their IT company that they hired, that they outsourced.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, and some of them are still shut down. And the thing is with ransomware is the biggest thing right now. So you had the threat group that was called Maze, right? So Maze was your original threat group. And then they decided to do a public announcement. Like, these are actual companies, you know what I mean? They're corporations. They have tons of people working for them. They said, we're out of the ransomware business. Yeah. We're just not doing it anymore.
Wow.
Okay. So then now there's this new threat group called Egregor. Okay. And Egregor, is the one that attacked in Memphis and, also in Texas. And what they're doing is now they're not accepting Bitcoin. They're accepting, Monero, which is like another type of digital currency. But if you don't have it you have to get approved to trade that and use it. And they're splitting. So if you have multi-site locations, they're splitting the encryption keys, right? So you got to pay for each site instead of before you could almost haggle with them, or not like haggle. What's the word I'm trying to look for?
Work with them a little bit and
work with them.
Yeah.
And say, okay, this is the same entity.
Right.
We'll pay this much, release it.
Right.
Now they're not doing that. And if you don't pay at all, they'll wipe it. There's no negotiation anymore. That's it. Negotiation. That's
okay. Gotcha.
So, and we just find this out, Advantage Technologies, we hired a third party to evaluate us, and that company's called Black Talent Security. They evaluate us. They protect us. They're the ones that are watching us. You still have a lot of IT companies that aren't doing that, and they're watching themselves, or they're doing their own audits and stuff like that. And it's changing, and you just can't anymore. You need that third party out there to do your risk assessments and make sure everything is going okay.
Okay. Now you've hit on something I've got to dig into, which is, exactly this, the idea that a managed services provider itself is going to get hacked, which is not what you hire a managed services provider to do. Right. Right. And so how do you assess your managed services provider if you've got an existing one, or if you're going to hire one? How do you assess them to make sure you're not hiring one that's under threat?
Ask for the binder, right? So for us, we offer a cybersecurity and cyber theft binder. So if we cause a breach or a loss of data, you're covered. And there's no insurance company in this world, because insurance companies are starting to back out of the cybersecurity, and they're just sort of stepping away from it because it's so expensive. But make sure they have a binder. Ask them who watches them. Now we're at the point, okay, who do you use that watches you? You know what I mean? And it's really changed to that. So those would be like the two questions I would ask. Okay, show me, do I have a binder with you? So if you cause a breach or a loss of data, you're covered. You can look at the BAA agreement, which is your business associate agreement. Make sure you read through that, and make sure they have that. That could be a simple, before you even let them come in to do an assessment. Hey, I need your BAA agreement. What's that? Okay, we don't need to be doing business together. No. If you don't have a BAA agreement, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like there's something else there that you said that I thought was interesting, is that what Advantage Technologies does is have a third-party complete audit done. And is that something that you can ask for as well, if your provider has that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. To where, it's the who's watching you kind of question.
Right.
and that's our third party that watches us is Black Talent. They watch us to make sure we're doing everything right too. It's always best to have the master in that area watch you as well.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, we're here chatting with Matt Minicozzi, and Matt is the senior technology consultant with Advantage Technologies. Matt, you deal mostly with dental and other medical practices, correct?
Yes. So me personally, I just deal with dentists. We do have a consultant, Mark Ramey, who's in Atlanta as well, that does medical, healthcare, vet, plastic surgeons, that those type of things. But me personally, I've been in dental my entire adult life. So I used to be the nerd behind the scenes, as I always say. I guess everyone says you're still a nerd. I'm like, okay, thank you. I was lead analyst, a pre-sale system engineer, an IT director. So it's always been in dental.
What makes dental practices, or I guess what draws you to that specialization, and what makes them particularly vulnerable? What is it about their business that makes them particularly vulnerable to outside threats?
Because they have all the information. They have absolutely everything. So running a dental practice, I just, these young guys come out of school, now $500,000 in debt, right? And they're taught dentistry, but they're not taught being an entrepreneur, which is difficult for them, and these guys and gals wear their heart on their sleeve. Dentists are there to serve their community. You know what I mean? They want everyone to have a pretty smile. They want them to feel good about themselves. They're there to serve their community, and it's my duty to serve them well. But from the security aspect of it, they have everything on their patients: Social Security, healthcare, phone numbers, addresses, images. Everything is stored inside that little small business building. And they typically have, around 5 to 10,000 patients, whether they're inactive or active in their database. The information's still there. Your Social Security number never changes. You know what I mean? Sure. Your healthcare rarely changes. It could now, unfortunately with COVID, with people losing their jobs, but, they have a treasure trove of just data. All healthcare facilities do. Plastic surgeons, medical doctor, all these people have that information.
Yeah. What you're talking about makes a whole lot of sense, because a dentist comes out of dental school and they are terrific technicians, but not only do they not learn about business, but there are a whole lot of business owners that don't know about cybersecurity threats, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So even if you get some rudimentary business training, you're likely not to find out what you need to know about protecting data.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about HIPAA. That's an issue in here when it relates to dentists and other medical practices.
Yeah. So, HIPAA and high tech, so the OCR controls that, the Office of Civil Rights, and they have a set of standards that you need to follow. And the key is to make sure you're being HIPAA and high tech compliant. Now we don't do HIPAA risk assessments or anything like that. Our job is solely to protect the IT infrastructure. So what's happening is once you hire us and we're in place, right, the risk of IT goes down, and now your biggest risk is your employees, right? So, and that's where it's important, where you have to have those contingency plans. You have to know, you have to have a strategy, and that's what a risk assessment is. Okay, if this happens, this is the lever I have to pull. You know what I mean? Because in a business, people react on emotion And yes, there's emotion in owning a business and being an entrepreneur and stuff like that. But you have to, during those emotional breakdowns, you have to have a logical steps. You always have to be logical in your steps. When there's a breach or something of that happening. So when it comes to HIPAA and high tech, the best thing they can do is while they're getting their OSHA trainer, everyone has an OSHA trainer. Typically most of the OSHA trainers are doing the HIPAA risk assessments now. Do your risk assessments every year. The first one's the difficult one, and then updating it every year as just time changes. That will make sure that you're being compliant, and that person will tell you exactly what direction you need to go. Did I answer that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that good? Okay.
Absolutely.
Did that make sense?
Well, and I guess the big thing too is just the risk of doing something wrong there in terms of fines is pretty significant.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're talking, no less than $1 million.
Well, that's the one figure you could throw out there that make that medical school debt look small, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, and we're talking, and we're talking like, a risk assessment isn't that expensive. We're talking like we partner with Olivia Wan, who owns Modern Practice Solutions, and it's not like it's like $200-300 a month. You know what I mean? It's nothing like out of this world, and it's just refocusing. Like a small dental practice or a small medical practice could have us have their OSHA, HIPAA training, their risk assessments, and then have Black Talon Security doing the third-party evaluation. You're talking about $1,400 a month, right around there.
Right.
It's not that expensive. And one thing we do at Advantage is we do this IT cost analysis so we can find that money, right? Because sometimes they're paying for something they don't need, or they don't know what they're paying. They're just paying it like an electric bill. There's things like in dental offices and medical offices, one place they get used and abused is their current IT company. Telephone, internet, merchant services. They might be paying for a piece of software that they're not even using or they don't need anymore, that handles like HIPAA and high tech. There's just so much out there that they're paying for because they go to one of the shows and they're like, oh, this looks good. And then they just forget about it and keep paying it.
Right.
So we really do an IT cost analysis just to dive in and be that CTO, you know what I mean? And also that partner and relationship to help them understand what's going on.
Wow. Good stuff here from Matt Minicozzi. And Matt is he's a senior technology consultant with Advantage Technologies. Matt, that's pretty compelling now when you're talking about you're going to do an assessment that not only is a risk assessment, but you're look at places I can save money so much that I can pay your bill. I mean, that's a pretty significant offer there.
Yep. Typically there's money coming back to the bottom line, right to their bottom line. Always.
Wow.
But yeah, I haven't found one yet that there hasn't since, we came in there and did a technology assessment and did the IT cost analysis and looking at a few things and understanding their practice, where they want to grow, their current pay points. There hasn't been that many times where they were paying more. They were actually saving money, and it was going back to their bottom line. Okay.
Now that's compelling. Let's talk about the risk analysis that you do and what's involved in that. And
the technology assessment.
Yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got to separate that. So the risk analysis, the risk assessment is HIPAA. We don't do that.
Okay. Gotcha.
So the risk assessment is done by a appropriate HIPAA advisor. And you want a third party doing that. There are IT companies that do their own risk assessments, but I say, that's like the difference between a clinical study and a medical study. when you have an IT company that does their own risk assessments, you're getting the answers you want. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if I sold you a car, right? I sold you a car, Minicozzi Corvette, right? Sold you a Corvette, Minicozzi Corvette, and I said it's the safest, best car ever. It's the fastest, it's the safest. You could flip it, roll it 800 times, and you won't die. Oh, and guess who did the assessment on that? I did. Minicozzi Corvette. It makes no sense. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And people understand the power of third party evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I got lost. What was the question on
I'm glad you went down that bunny trail because that was helpful. But the original question was about the technology assessment.
Yes.
How that works.
So what we're doing, it doesn't cost anything, and most companies do this, but we're coming in there. We're meeting with the office manager and the owners, and just looking at all the equipment they have, computer equipment, printers, scanners, the software they have, version numbers, the operating system they have, the entire infrastructure, the security they have. We do a security analysis on that. If they have the appropriate firewall, what guidelines do they have to follow, and really just build a profile on that certain business, because every business is different. And then at the end of the assessment, what we do is it's a yes or no. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is our estimated cost. Here's the problems I found. It's going to cost this much. Do you want to see the full proposal? Or not? You're crazy. That's too expensive. Get out, kind of thing. And it's just a no holds barred. You don't have to I hate follow up. I do not like follow up. I just want a person to have their guard down and understand that I'm just not going to be a nuisance and follow up with them and everything like that.
Sure. Well, that makes perfect sense, and I got it. And I'm kind of that same way too. So I don't blame you for that. Right. But if you've got a compelling proposition, which it sounds like you do, you come in and provide an assessment. And you look at not just of technology, but of cost and how to save. Then it's pretty straightforward from there, right? Either it's value to you or not, right?
It's not. Yeah. There's no reason. I don't want resentment. My job is to serve and educate you. Mm-hmm. And if I do my job right, and show you your pain points and where I can bring value, you'll move forward. And if not, then I did something wrong and I got to refocus and find out, okay, where did I go wrong here? How can I improve myself to, help this client that I lost? I never blame it on the client. I always blame it on myself. There's something that I missed. You know what I mean? Because I know I can always bring value. But in business, there's just sometimes where it doesn't work out. It's okay.
Sure. Now let me ask you this. So for those that are hearing this and they're thinking, man, I like the sound of this, but I'm not a dental practice. I don't have a veterinary practice. Matt, will you still help me out?
Of course.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, of course. Yeah. We have, we have a great client called Sky Retail Services. They're a manufacturing company. We have CPAs, we have, law firms, we have, a bunch. The thing is once you get out of dentistry, for me, it's just so much easier because you don't have all the imaging equipment. You don't have, a dentist office just has so much stuff like peripherals, just things that they got to plug in a computer. A typical CPA office has a printer and a scanner. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a breath of fresh air when I have a small business outside of dental or medical that is just, looking for our services. And we do help them out. We just don't actively market them. But we get a ton of referrals from our existing clients, from our partners outside of dentistry to help where we can.
Yeah. Great stuff here, folks, from Matt Minicozzi. Matt is with Advantage Technologies. So let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I've known you for a while. You could work for a lot of different MSPs. Why Advantage Technologies? You've been with them now for a while. Why are they such a good company for you?
It's the CEO. The CEO is a good friend of mine. I've known him now, 15 years, 16 years. I started at Advantage 6 years ago. I opened up the state of Georgia. We had nothing. He let me open it up, and we have over 100 clients. But it's the CEO. He's just a very caring person. He cares about his employees. Is transparent. He runs the company so efficiently. We have no debt. We have cash reserves. We didn't lay anybody off during COVID. We even got a Christmas bonus this year. Wow. That's the kind of guy he is.
Wow.
And so he's just a stand-up guy, and that's where I'm going to work for the rest of my working career is with him.
What's his name?
Brian Courier.
Brian Courier. Shout out to Brian Courier. Yeah, doing it right.
He's an awesome guy. So
that's awesome.
And now we got a new sales manager, Taylor. He's doing good too. So
okay.
We just got a good group of guys, and a lot of our engineers, and just it's a team, it's a brotherhood. It's great, and a lot of our we have 4 engineers in Georgia that are retired vets. And they get it. You know what I mean? They come on, they understand the brotherhood. They understand it's a team effort. So it's just a great company to work for. And he allows me to do other businesses as well that I was able to start during COVID, and he's okay with it, which is good because, I see these issues within businesses, and I just want to fix it and make it right. So
great stuff, Matt. Now, let's wrap it up here. This has been great. And I'd love it if you would talk about, let's just go through it one more quick time. What happens when somebody says, I think I got a problem, and they pick up the phone and call you? What happens?
So you get, that's a great question.
Okay.
It's not a short answer. I'm sorry.
That was a deeper question than I intended, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you mean when they call me or when they call support?
Well, no, I'm talking about if they're not a client of yours and they think they've got a problem, they need some help, and maybe they need another MSP. How do you go through the diagnostic with them?
Oh, okay. So they just call me and we have a quick conversation, about 10 minutes. And that's a phone conversation. We'll schedule an on-site technology assessment, and I just reassure them like, hey, it is what it is. C'est la vie. It is what it is. I'm going to find stuff. We're going to talk about it. And at the end of our conversation, I'm going to give you an estimate, and it's either a yes or no. We don't have to waste each other's time. You either want it or you don't. It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the other thing too is that, like,
information,
and you're used to seeing people's dirt in the closet, right? So, I mean, people don't need to be shy about this. I mean, we've all got issues with our technology, and, but it's better to take care of it than to, reap the embarrassment, a much bigger embarrassment and cost of a breach.
Right. Yep. Because that will put you on the newspaper. You got to identify, you got to share it with all your clientele. That's a huge embarrassment. And then they put you on the wall of shame.
Lovely.
Where it's for everyone to see, which will be getting used more, I think, by your normal consumers as they learn and understand it. And a big thing is for a guy like me, if I'm walking in and I'm seeing you're still using Windows 7 computers, I don't want to do business with you. They haven't received a security update since January 14th. You're vulnerable. You're sitting duck.
Wow.
And as as the younger crowd, I would say, understands that, like, oh, Windows 7 has been gone. It hasn't been getting security updates. They're going to see that and they're going to judge you off of that cover. That's something. So if you do have Windows 7, update to Windows 10. You still possibly can get it for free. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Microsoft still left the back door open, but you just call and it's just an honest conversation. That's it. We do the assessment, like I said before. And yeah, that's
great. Matt Minicozzi from Advantage Technologies. Matt, this has been great.
Yes, sir.
So for those that would like to be in touch, would like to have a conversation, tell them how they can do that.
So just call my cell phone, 678-667-2345. I think that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Sounds great. Matt Minicozzi, Advantage Technologies. Thank you so much for being with us.
I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Folks, just a quick reminder, if you've got another problem that involves the fact that you're working on administrative tasks and bookkeeping and all sorts of hairy stuff in your business that you really shouldn't be focused on, give Essie Escobedo over at Office Angels a call. She's terrific. She's got a whole team of angels, and she picks the best one to solve your problem, and they fly in, get the job done, and fly right back out. And they do it on an ongoing or as needed basis, whatever you need. My suggestion is give her a call and explain where you are and what your problem is. Her number is 770-442-9246. And like Matt, I've known Essie quite a while, and she is terrific. I use Essie personally, and can't say enough good things about her. And tell her that I sent her your way when you call her. Folks, just another quick reminder as we wrap up here. North Fulton Business Radio is the search term on all the major podcast apps. We're on all of them. I would love it if you would go to your favorite podcast app, subscribe, and give us a great review. It's not about me. It's not about Business RadioX. It's about our guest, because when you do that, it helps folks find the show so they can find great business leaders like Matt and know about the services they provide and how they help other businesses out there. So if you could do that for us, we would appreciate it. And connect with us on social media, North Fulton BRX on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So for my guest, Matt Minicozzi, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.